everyone and their moms are playing Zurich. You have a Firefly, you have a Firefly, you have a Firefly. Oh, you have a Firefly. By far, the most dog shit set of all dog shit sets in the entirety of Pokke. The undisputed GOAT. I cannot believe I'm saying this. But nowadays, unfortunately, as time moved on, I would say there's almost zero purpose. Yeah, we're gonna be going back to a topic that has been requested for the past couple of days. Before my job gets overtaken by AI, and that's gonna be the Relic domain efficiency tier list way back 9 months ago, guys. This video was up 9 months ago. Holy shit, I'm getting old, right? So we basically kind of went through here which of these domains are gonna be worth it for y'all to farm, right? So we kind of paired up both relics that are coming from the same domain and the best bang for your buck in terms of the stamina, right? Especially since we just received the latest version 3.0 relic set, which is going to be the Pokke, right? The brand new 3DB set as well as the Talia set. So we're going to see how they cook up compared to the others. And without further ado, actually with a little bit of ado, if you are going to see like our rationale, our old video, you can kind of check it out over here. But this is going to be the updated version right here. Shout out to my stream mod the 07 Yone that I hard carry with my Master Eve, I think from like 6 months ago. Yep, let's jump right in. So this is going to be in chronological order, so it's gonna be very, very comfortable for us to start listing them out. I'm gonna kind of reword this a little bit. Alright, so this is going to be in terms of the best bang for buck for your stamina, right? Insane, which is gonna be, you know, you will most likely never go wrong farming this, whether when it comes to building your sustains, supports, your DPS, whichever it is. But of course, this does come with the caveat of what are you trying to accomplish, because it's a little bit hard to have a one-size-fits-all relic efficiency for pretty much every single player. So for example, some of you guys might still be investing in Zurich, some of you guys might still be playing follow-up, right? Some of you guys might be playing DOT, right? Some of you guys might be playing, I don't know, Jingyue, the 4-piece standard, right? It is a little bit hard to measure like what exactly your account look like, but we're gonna take this as like a more general approach. And starting off with one of the I'm good is gonna be this. This list is basically pretty much almost nobody should be spending their stamina into these kind of domains. So this is going to be the 4-piece physical as well as a 4-piece thief set. For 4-piece physical, nobody uses it anymore, right? There is already a better set. We have more crit value and all that kind of stuff. 4-piece thief, low-key kind of got power crept by the Iron Cavalry. That being said, there might be a bit of niche use for the 4-piece thief set, because sometimes if you get the 4-piece, you break the enemy, you get additional 3 energy. It might be not too shabby for specific scenarios, namely in pure friction, which you can break very, very frequently. Or if you're going to be running this with Fuke, you have the exo toughness, you can get a little bit more energy. But still, I wouldn't recommend players dumping their stamina, especially just for the 4-piece thief, because you want to consider that in Echoes of War, if you kind of farm your old Echoes of War, you can still also get some thieves that hit there. So, I'm good. Next, Musketeer as well as 4-piece hitter. I feel like in 2025, they don't really have that much value anymore, but I would say better than physical and thief. All right, especially since your 4-piece Musketeer as well as a 2-piece Musketeer, they can kind of be mixed and matched a little bit frequently, right? You can run 2-piece attack for quite a decent amount of unit, right? You can run it on Ting Yuan, you can run it on Babin, you can run them on your DOT if you haven't full for DOT. And a 4-piece, you can kind of run it on Mark 7, you can run it on Imperial Lune, you can run it on like anybody that uses base attack. You can kind of run 4-piece Musketeer. Like to a certain extent, even Aglaia could run 4-piece Musketeer, but I digress. So not too bad of a value. And then for our 4-piece Passerby, 2-piece is also gonna be a pretty universal set because it is the only set that gives us outgoing healing boost, right? So if you want this for your sustains, namely your Huan Huans, your Bai Lus, your Luo Chas, right? Not too bad of a choice. And our 4-piece, sometimes you might consider the additional skill point for some very specific setups, right? For example, if you're running like Babin, Huan Huan, and Sunday, you didn't pull for Sunday Signature like Cone, you're gonna be running out of skill points in the very first wave. So you might want to consider getting a 4-piece hero for this kind of specific setup. But I wouldn't really say that it is that great. It's still like a category, right? Next, 4-piece Quantum and 4-piece Wuthering Waves. Back in 2024, this was the domain that your streamer farmed in for 6 months straight. I didn't change a damn thing about myself. I just perma-camped this domain for 6 months straight. And I have some of the best 4-piece Quantums in the entire world. Wait, let me pull up my account. Back in my days, right? Your streamer spent 6 months straight camping the 4-piece Quantum. Because as we know, stacking on defense down is absolutely diabolical. And back in my days in 2023, we really didn't have that many good 4-piece effects, right? You had like your 4-piece Fire, 4-piece Imaginary, right? 4-piece Musketeer. We didn't have things like, 4-piece DOT for DOT. We didn't have 4-piece Follow-Up. We didn't have your 4-piece Break, like your Iron Cavalry. We didn't have your 4-piece, like, we have missing a lot. So this 4-piece effect was one of, if not the best, especially since at the start of the game, we have quite a few defense down sources, namely from Pella as well as, even Silver Wolf, right? So, your boy invested. He locked in. He locked in hard, right? He locked in hella hard. Very, very hard. Let me change this to attack. Yep, even my attack boost. He locked in super, super hard, which means, his 4-piece Quantum is really not too shabby, if I can say so myself. But unfortunately, as of this day and age in 2025, I really, don't think it's that recommended to farm for a 4-piece Quantum anymore. The main reason is because you have a lot better specialized niche sets nowadays. Back then, in my days, we didn't really have a niche set that was able to allow these kind of DPS archetypes to perform like drastically better compared to 4-piece Quantum. Right? You have things like your DOT, you have things like your Follow-Up, you have things like your Iron Cavalry, right? You have things like your Valorous, right? You think of your Valorous. Now we're gonna be getting Poet, and then we have the Triumphant Song. All these brand new relic sets that we are getting as the patches go by, they are getting more and more niche, more and more tailored to the specific DPS, the specific archetype. Which means that these kind of like generalized, like 10% defense down or 20% quantum winner is not as impactful anymore. That is reason number 1. Reason number 2, nobody fucking uses this set. Alright, nobody cares about Wuthering Waves. Nobody cares about Wuthering Guards, right? Nobody cares to the point where legit no one uses a 2-piece defense reduction. Straight up, you either run the 2-piece speed or you run the 2-piece speed for pretty much every single one of your tanks, every single one of your supports, every single one of your sustain. Everyone prefers speed instead of a defense reduction. So for that reason, I cannot believe I'm saying this. Now I'm good for 4-piece Quantum, guys. It's called 量子仙人, which is like the Quantum Fairy, the Quantum God. A lot of people back then, they were perma-spamming the 4-piece Quantum just because of how universal this set was. But nowadays, unfortunately, as times moved on, I would say there's almost zero purpose in going back to farm for this 4-piece Quantum, because you can legit just farm for the niche set, which also usually comes with the very good secondary set as well for your supports as well as your sustain, right? So it is what it is. Next, okay, let's just be real. Do we care? No, right? Nobody cares about this, so I don't think we need to expand on this too much. Nobody cares about this. Nobody cares about this. Move on. For your Aventurine, maybe you could consider the defense 2-piece, but then again, Aventurine is not really the end of the world, and apparently they fixed this bug, so I don't think the sustain is that bad anymore. You know, perhaps playing better, right? Perhaps pulling better, dodge better, right? All that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't say it's gonna be worth farming this set only for essentially Aventry, right? Because nobody else cares about this. So nah, I'm good. This is still by far the most dog shit set of all dog shit sets in the entirety of Honkai Star Wars. I don't know who the fuck came up with. Okay, let me just pull up this, right? Private. Who came up? Who is the guy that came up with this? Increase wearer skill damage by 12%, and then you increase this for the next attack. It's not even the next turn, it's the next attack. Singular, by the way. Singular attack. And it's not even like some rest pad, it's fire damage percent. I don't know who the fuck came out with this. They were high or some shit. At the most dog shit relics I've ever seen in my entire goddamn life. Absolutely not. Banditry, it was not that bad last time because it was one of the only sets that we have that gave us the crit value, right? This was one of the only sets back then that actually gave us up to 40 crit value, which honestly wasn't too bad. The downside of this is this thingy, it is a little bit hard to trigger because it's only against imprisoned targets, and then we have our 4-piece diver. So, you know, it's just not too much point anymore. Back then, we used to use this set, this 4-piece imaginary for like our DPS. Well, yeah, you could use it for Imperial Lunate if you wanted to. 2+2, so it's not that bad, but the byproduct of this being Firesmith is just so bad that it is the worst of the worst. Nobody should be farming this. Even since 1.0, nobody should be farming this, right? Now, this is going to be our first interesting domain. The Hunter 4-piece and the Eagle 4-piece. Now, this is interesting. This is honestly interesting, right? The Freedom set. I believe I ranked this in the middle last time. Oh, I ranked this in meh? Surely not. I'm pretty sure I bumped it up towards the end. Yeah, I bumped it up towards the end, right? I bumped this up towards the end. So it was in the B category. And I feel like for this set nowadays, it's gonna be quite I feel like it's a I honestly feel like it's a Now hear me out, right? Hear me out. The reason why I feel like it's a is because this is not like bad, but it's just like questionable, right? It's questionable. The purpose of 4-piece Eagle was to access this 25% action value advance from our ultimate. Now back then, the only way we can get speed was with the Hackerspace 2-piece. We didn't have access to 2-piece Kalpagni, we didn't have access to 2-piece Sacerdos. So the only effective way of you stacking on fast speed on your support is with your Hackerspace. Alright, that's pretty much it. But times have changed. Technology have improved, right? Pom has given us the goddamn future. We have now the power of 2-piece Kalpagni as well as 2-piece Sacerdos, which means that any single one of your unit, you could run a 3 times 6% speed for everyone. That's it. Which means that it is technically even easier to hit your respective speed thresholds instead of relying on 4-piece Eagle. Back then, speed was a very valuable substat that you really had quite a bit of difficulty in obtaining. But since we have access to more relics now, the fundamental value of this 4-piece Eagle is not gonna be as important compared to last time. On top of that, no one is using this dog shit set. Maybe you could make the argument that Jingliu could use this 4-piece Hunter, and then now we have our 4-piece Scholar, right? We already got our 4-piece Scholar, which is technically Jingliu is gonna be a Jingliu's best in slot. So legit, there's no one uses 4-piece Scholar at all, 0. Which means that if you're farming for this 4-piece Eagle, you are only farming for 4-piece Eagle at essentially 50% efficiency, very similar to our 4-piece Quantum at 50% efficiency. That being said, I would still rank this a little bit higher compared to a 4-piece Quantum because there's one group of people that still wants 4-piece Eagle. Them goddamn zero cyclers. Ooh, them disgusting fuckface. Oh, the goddamn zero cyclers. I'm sure you guys have seen these disgusting gamers, so it kind of... Ooh, damn disgusting zero cyclers. Yucks. Ooh, there's some disgusting ass fucks right there, right? So there's this one group of people that potentially want this 4-piece ego, and that really is basically the zero cyclers. Because for zero cycles, the most important thing is really not that much on your damage output. It's gonna be the speed, the action value. How many actions can you take within this single cycle before you move on to the next wave? This is by far the most important factor, and as of this day and age, 4-piece ego, especially a 4-piece ego with a pretty decent speed subset, is gonna be extremely valuable, right, for these very specific group of people over here. But you have to consider one thing. Your boy MrPokke didn't spend 20,000 stamina on 4-piece ego to get his ego 4-piece. MrPokke is smart, right? He is not greedy. He did a more efficient way of obtaining 4-piece ego, which is gonna be this beautiful little thing right here, in which we call them relic fragments. Ooh, cavern relic synthesis. I would dare say almost 80% or maybe even 90% of my 4-piece ego came from this method right here, right? Yep, your boy has 25,000 remains because I'm a hoarder, right? I don't ever use this. Also, I'm damn lazy, right? I just can't be bothered causing this. So I just keep this enchanting and this enchanting and this enchanting, and this just kind of build up. This is the way I craft my 4-piece ego, because it cuts out the middleman of the useless 4-piece hunter, and it also allows me to snipe a specific relic on the 4-piece ego. Because the thing with 4-piece ego is you need every single one of these to have a high speed sub for it to outclass a 2+2+2 combination. Because of this, if you already have a very good, let's just say your head piece is like a 9, and then your body's a 10, like myself, then the only piece that I really want left is basically just a hands. And this is the most effective means, because if let's just say you're left with only like one more hand, and you have to spend like 40 stamina, hunting for the one hand, it is extremely inefficient. So I would say, at the end of everything, if you want to farm this domain directly, it's a little bit But this relic set itself, honestly, it's quite fun, especially if you care about zero cycles, and if you are willing to use your relic fragments to craft for the ego set specifically, right? So that is gonna be that. Next, our very first 2-piece speed back in my days. Ooh, the 4-piece blade back in my days. Holy shit. This is an ancient piece, guys. It is ancient, truly, right? Truly an ancient piece. I would say at this point, it's honestly not too bad. I would say it's aight. But the thing is, this would be specifically for your support and sustains. Pretty much it. Unless you play blade, then sure, you can run 4-piece Longevous Blade. Nobody runs 4-piece Hackerspace, and if you do, come for an account review, I will slap your face and eat your dog in-game, right? Most people nowadays, they are running the 2+2 speed, which is basically your Hackerspace plus Sacerdos plus your Kalpagni, right? So to get the okay, let's just take a look at it, so it makes my editor's life a little bit easier, right? So if you Hackerspace 6%, Sacerdos 6%, all right, and Kalpagni 6%. All right, this is the easiest combination to give you this 18% speed buff for essentially free. All right, so it is the easiest way for your supports and sustains, or maybe if you even want to consider DPS, but I really don't think that's the case, to hit your respective speed thresholds, right? And then for 2-piece HP, it is not too bad for quite a lot of our sustains, right? Your Hue Hue, your Balu, right? Even your Lushaka, even though Lushaka skills with attack percentage, he wouldn't mind having a little bit more HP, a little bit more bulk, right? Your Fu Xuan, right? Any unit that wants to like survive, this 2-piece HP wouldn't be that bad. But I would say that the value is not that insane, mainly because it doesn't really cover pretty much any of our meta DPS. And from my experience, like playing with Bob, looking through account reviews, playing this game for like almost 2 years, the most important unit to get a good relic is going to be your main DPS, right? Even if your supports and sustains, they don't really hit the speed, right? Their speed is like what, 10 speed or whatever, it's not that bad. But if your main DPS is running like legit like dog shit relics with like, really bad subsets, that would impact your experience playing a lot more. Specifically, your crit DPS. If you're playing break DPS, it might not be that bad, but if you're playing break DPS, then you wouldn't be farming this as well. So I would say that the priority for this, I would only consider if you already have a pretty decent DPS set that you can kind of just get by, and then you're thinking of, okay, you know what, I need to make my support stronger. But you also finish up farming your 2-piece Sacerdos, and now you're legit just looking for the additional 2-piece speed more from Hackerspace. In this scenario, I would think it's not too bad to come back here, right? And now we'll move on to what used to be insane value, guys. This used to be insane value 8 months ago. The DOT set and the fucking follow-up set. Chat. DOT is not dead, alright? Stop. Okay, maybe it's a bit dead now, but DOT is coming back. I can feel it, right? It's 100% coming back. The reason why I never would give up on DOT is because there is no way that MiHoYo released an entire path of Nihility in SU with the entire path of XI, with its entire path of DOT Curios and DOT Blessings, just for them to give up in DOT in like one patch. It is impossible, right? Eventually, DOT is gonna come back. So, I would say that this set, as of right now, it's aight. I would say it's aight. It's a little bit out of season. Alright, it's a little bit out of like the, like spring, summer, winter. It's a little bit out of season, but I would still say it's aight. Mainly if you are someone that is trying to keep up with like the quote-unquote meta, right? That being said, if you are a dedicated DOT main, I think this is basically your best in slot, right? You really don't have any other alternatives for DOT. Like straight up. So if you're a DOT main, this is pretty much it. If you're a follow-up attack main, frankly speaking, the Grand Duke did lose quite a bit of its value because we have the 4-piece Valorous nowadays, right? And even so with the 4-piece Scholar, and if you want to consider like your Triumphant or even like your Poet, all these relic sets, they are not too bad compared to the old Grand Duke, right? And considering that back then, a unit like Fei Xiao didn't exist. We were fucking relying on what? Jing Yuan's Lightning Lord and like Topaz Nambi to stack on Grand Duke to its highest attack percentage buff in order to do the maximum damage. But that's kind of like the thing of the past now. So I would say that this domain is aight. It's not the best for almost every single player unless you're in a very niche camp that you really believe in DOT a lot, right? This is specifically for DOT because you really have no other alternatives. And frankly speaking, 2-piece DOT is gonna be the 2-piece attack. So it's also not that bad. I believe my Barbin is still using a 2-piece prisoner. So it is really not the worst. The follow-up set, it's definitely a little bit more niche now because the strongest follow-up DPS Fei Xiao doesn't really care about this. If you want to run Topaz or Ratio or like Jingyuan, yes, I guess this is a bench slot. But then for Topaz and Ratio specifically, they have access to Pioneer as well, right? So the niche is not that important in this day and age. So I'm just gonna be dumping this to the its eye section. Let me close this, right? And then moving on to the Diver and Watchmaker. I would say this is our first good set. The Diver 4-piece is frankly speaking a lot more universal than we kind of, because this used to be built for Aircraft, right? But you can honestly use this for Topaz, you can use this for Weld, you can use this for Ratio, you can use this pretty much for any DPS that has any semblance of debuff. It might not be the best, but it is definitely one of the battlefield alternatives. And let's just be real, a lot of people pulled for Aircron, and this is Aircron's best in slot. And since we are going to be factoring in like the majority of the player base, right, in order to be a little bit more representative, 4-piece Diver is going to give you a lot of value because a lot of people pull for Aircron. The 4-piece Watchmaker is also pretty much, you know, if you're running Ramee, there really isn't any other alternatives. You could consider 2+2 Watchmaker plus Thief, but for Ramee specifically, this is going to be best in slot. And then if you're running Harmony Trailblazer, if you want to, you could run Iron Cavalry, or you could run 4-piece Watchmaker. It's not that important, but for Ramee, this is pretty much going to be best in slot, right? So everyone and their moms basically pull for Ramee. Right, Ramee has the highest ownership rate in all of Honkai Starbucks. So legit, almost everyone has Ramee, and this is Ramee's best in slot. Right, pretty much don't really have any other competition. Same thing for Aircron, so I would say this is going to be good value, not too shabby. And then we have the Iron Cavalry as well as the 4-piece Valorous. This would be our first insane value. Not necessarily because it is a diabolical piece, which honestly it kind of is, right? It kind of is, because it allows us to ignore up to 25% of the target's defense. And if you're playing Super Break, pretty much everyone and the moms would easily get more than 250% break effect, right? You have Fugue, you have Harmony MC, you have Ramee, you have all the bars. This is really not that big of a concern in 2025, right? 25% defense ignored with 60% break effect. And the reason why this is also so good, it's because everyone is playing Super Break, bruh. Everyone and their moms are playing Super Break. You have a Firefly. You have a Firefly. You have a Firefly. Oh, you have a Firefly. Everybody, their moms are there. Their brother. Everyone is playing Super Break. I would say 99.999% of the population, especially the casual population, they are all playing Super Break. Lingsha uses Super Break, right? Firefly uses it, right? Fugue uses it, right? Bootio uses it, right? Rapid, all of them use the 4-piece Cavalry. Maybe Bootio, you could argue for a 4-piece Eagle. That's possible. But majority of all players run this 4-piece Cavalry because everyone plays Super Break. Honkai Starbucks has shielded Super Break for like the past, I don't know, 5 to 6 patches, right? Ever since they released Firefly, it has been non-stop Super Break. Non-stop. Even till now, we also have this mode called the Apocalyptic Shadows, which is basically a mode designed for Super Break, right? For Break Team. So it is really hard to reduce the value of this relic set and to add on top of that the 4-piece Valorous. I would say the 4-piece Valorous is probably not as popular as compared to Super Break because the ownership rate for like a Fart team, like your Fei Xiao or like your Yun Li, is definitely lower compared to like our girlfriend Firefly, right? The Super Break team. But that being said, this is still a very good relic, right? You have the 2-piece attack, so you can run this with Tinguin, you can run this with Robin, right? This is pretty universal. The 4-piece gives you the crit rate plus ultimate damage buff, which is, as of this moment, pretty much Fei Xiao's best in slot, Yun Li's best in slot. In the future, if you get any of this other increase, it is pretty much going to be the best in slot. Unless you want to go for like 4-piece Eagle Fei Xiao, or like 4-piece Poet Yun Li, it is possible. But generally speaking, this is gonna be, you know, the commoner's usage of the 4-piece Valorous. I would say the main value does in fact lie with Iron Cavalry because almost everyone plays Super Break. And then if you want to play Fart, this is pretty much it, right? And then even if you don't play Fart, getting this for 2-piece Bubbin, right, 2-piece attack is still gonna be fine. So that would be our very first insane value. Second last set, the latest or almost latest Scholar with Sacerdos. I would say this, it might just outvalue Super Break. Okay, I feel like these two, they are around the same caliber, But it really depends if you are somebody that still needs improvement for a super break. Okay, you know what? Me personally, I'm just gonna bump them higher. And the reason why this is because your super break team, it doesn't really need perfect substats. You get what I'm saying? Like, even if your Firefly has only like what, one break effect roll or like one speed roll or like this is just very, very bad relic, it's really not that bad because super break's concept by itself doesn't really rely that much on substats. As long as you have the right main stats and you have the units, it's just gonna function, right? There's a reason why Bob, the whole super break mechanic with Bob, it has been carrying out early game, even though we have basically zero effective rolls, right? It's still a really, really good set. But on the other hand, your Scholar and Sacerdos is gonna be way more mindful of what their subset distribution is gonna look like, right? And this is frankly a pretty darn insane set. 2-piece speed, every single support, every single sustain, they all use this. Introduction on Sunday, so this 4-piece, you can give it to Sunday, you can give it to Bronya, you can give it to Spark. All these, they can use our 4-piece Sacerdos. And then for our 2-piece Scholar, it is, not only is it the best slot for Herda at this current moment, alright, 4-piece Scholar, it has the first ever 2-piece crit rate, which is 16 crit value. Honestly, for especially if you're a casual and you're struggling to find good crit rate, this 16 crit value is really, really nice, right? So even if you can't accomplish this 4-piece and give it to units like D Herta or Jing or even Scylla, the 2-piece crit rate is gonna be good enough value to the point where if you want to run a rainbow set for DPS, especially crit DPS, this 2+2 is gonna be very, very good, right? And since we do want more investments into our Scholar subsets, because you really want to find a crit rate or crit damage, and then for a Sacerdos, most of the time you're trying to find speed subs, and then maybe you're running Sunday or Sparkle, you don't really care about speed, you want to get crit damage, whatever. I would say you are probably spending more time farming here compared to here. Unless you are a facial simp and you're trying to hunt for that perfect Valorous or a Yun Li simp, then I would say these two are probably going to be a little bit more important, which finally brings us to the last set, the latest 3.0 set. 4-piece Poet and 4-piece Triumphant Song. Frankly speaking, it's a little bit hard to judge. It really is. Because these two relic sets right now, their wares aren't out yet. I've said this in my relic review in 3.0. This does look like it's built for Tribi because it kind of have the same hairband as Tribi's hairband. Right? It kind of has the same as Tribi's hairband. And then your Triumphant Song, it kind of reminds you of like Aglaea's Golden Strings. Right? So the wearer for these two relic sets, technically they're not out yet. Right, they are not out yet. And the effects of these, not a lot of people right now can make use of it. The only time I've actually found this to be, remotely useful was when I ran into my Kerala and I gave her like 6,500 attack, which is, from this video we see in Epoch Shadows. This was pretty fun, right? I could also give this to Jade, because Jade technically might not need speed that much. She has a building action very advanced, just spams attack, so it's also not too shabby. The power of this 4-piece Poet though, is having a whopping 64 crit value or 32% crit rate. For context, this is quite literally an entire main stat worth of stats, right? In case you guys didn't know, your crit rate chest is 32.4. It is legit 32.4. Your crit damage is 64.8. This is 4-piece Poet is quite literally your main DPS running 2 crit rate main stats. That is how much crit value this thing gives you. So if you can satisfy the condition of 4-piece Poet, and if you're a DPS that doesn't really care about speed, I would say this can be a absolutely diabolical relic. The problem is, we don't really have a lot of access to these kind of slow DPSs. So far, it's essentially just Kerala, Yun Li, as well as Jade. Almost every other DPS you kind of wanted to have not that slow, especially with the introduction of units like Sunday and Robin, right? All of your crit DPS nowadays, almost all of them, they kind of want to speed tune either DPS, Sunday DPS, or if you're running a Robin, you want to at least hit 134 so they can hit the 2 extra turns. So for most crit DPS now, they can't really make use of this. Oh, Qingque. Okay, whatever. Yeah, sure, Qingque, I'm dead, right? Yeah, okay, yeah, Qingque can use this. But that might change in the future. We need to see what Tribi does. We need to see what Aglaia does. We need to see what My Day does. And we kind of see, you know, Kazoo and all that kind of stuff. We kind of need to see what the future unit holds before I can give a accurate representation. And then we can kind of move on to the next, which is also like in the same vein. The Hero of Triumphant Song, which is going to be 6% speed, 12% attack, and 30% crit damage. There's a little bit of a mix for everything. I always like to see this good two-piece effects because it's a very universal stat, right? 2-piece attack, 6% speed as well as 30% crit damage. I think we already know by now that Aglaia, she's somebody that prioritizes having speed. So this pretty much is going to be Aglaia's best in slot. I would say that this is a little bit hard to satisfy because you basically only have DPS Mimi because no one else has a Mimo sprite. Alright, your Nambi is not a Mimo sprite. Your Lion Lord is not a Mimo sprite. So really the only fella that can use this is DPS Mimi or Aglaia. And Aglaia is not out, right? So I would say that their value is prospective to kind of see where version 3, the future of version 3 takes us. And for that reason, you know what, I'm gonna be a little bit conservative. I'm just gonna put it at good. All right, I'll put it at good. I'll put it at good for now. Right, for now. Because I feel like it doesn't really make sense if they release these two pieces and all the units later just don't use them. It's just not possible, right? So I'll put them good for now, but I have very, like if I was a betting man, right? If you ask me to bet, I would bet that these two relics are probably going to be quite good in the future, right? So that is going to come to an end for our 4-piece relic Karen. If you want to screenshot, feel free. So this is going to be our 4-piece relic, right? 4-piece. Now we'll move on to our planar 2-piece. Starting off with the OG of the OG. Mr. World Tree Fleetless and Space Sealing Station. Holy shit, that is a diabolical Ankh piece right there. I would feel that at this day and age, it's a little bit like a It's honestly a little bit like a It's not really like, nah, I'm good, because technically 2-piece Fleetless is very easy to trigger. You get a team-wide attack buff, so it's not that bad. But Space Sealing Station, like legit, no one uses it anymore, right? The Fleetless is pretty much the only reason why this is not at, nah, I'm good. Also, if you want to consider the trade-off between this with like Broken Keel, Lushaka, Penacony, and Vonwacq, because these are like your most common support and sustain 2-piece, right? Fleetless will still hold a place in your DOT. Fleetless will still hold a place in your crit DPS, especially if you cannot hit that effect rest. Especially if you do not have like Avenger to give you the free effect rest. So it's not completely useless yet. But I would say there are definitely much better value compared to these two, which is going to be explained later a bit, right? So the next set is going to be World 4. Talia and Vonwacq. I feel like this domain is a little bit similar to your 4-piece Eagle and your 4-piece Hunter, except that Talia does have a better value than 4-piece Hunter. And also, 2-piece Vonwacq's effect, it's not easily replaceable. So the reason why I say this is not easily replaceable is because your 4-piece Eagle, right? If you don't hit your speed thresholds, you're better off just going for 2+2+2 speed. But 2-piece Vonwacq, if you equip this set, as long as you have the 120 speed, that unit with Vonwacq is almost certainly going to be going first, because it is a massive 40% action value advance. So in that sense, I'll place this above 4-piece Eagle and 4-piece Hunter, but they are still not that insane, especially since Talia Set, you technically have a competitor in Kalpagni, and your 2-piece Vonwacq, if you don't care about the 40% action value advance, you could always go for Lushaka, which gives you the additional attack as well as the energy generation buff, right? So I would say it's aight. It's not that bad, it's aight. Oh my fucking god, I'm gonna fucking lose my shit. I don't even think I need to explain. Right? I don't even think I need to explain. I'm just gonna show this effect real quick. No explanation needed. If you have ever spent a single stamina on this domain, just start a new account. It's over, buddy. Like if Firesmith 4-piece was like the summer end. This is the equivalent of the summer end's poop. It is legit the most dog shit relic. I have no idea why the hell is this a thing. Like, it just does not make sense. I don't know what the fuck happened here. It's a complete waste of life. It has zero purpose. It should end itself and delete itself from the game. Absolutely zero goddamn purpose. Zero. Nothing. No one cares about this, right? Zero, right? So, okay, I don't need to explain anymore. World Fight, never from this. Absolute dog shit of the dog shit, right? Okay, moving on. Salsotto and Belobog. Now, way back in my days, before Rutilant Arena was a thing, you know, I still remember Theory Crafter. Back then, I wasn't even a streamer. I wasn't even a content creator. I was just like a little guy, like playing Honkai Starbucks. Back in my days, I was looking at, because I didn't start off with Scylla, by the way. My very first guide that I made was for Jingyuan. So the whole wave for Scylla's guide, I completely missed it out, because, you know, I was still a little guy, right? There was this whole like debacle between the tier crafters, between EN, between CN, whatever, as to whether should Scylla run 2-piece Space Sealing Station or 2-piece Salsotto. I think most of CN, they believe that Salsotto was a better choice. And I think most of EN think that Space Sealing Station is better. And technically, they both have their own merits. The reasoning for EN is because mainly the Space Sealing Stations, the byproduct was your Fleetless, which was the only 2-piece support that was getting used. Nobody really cares about Belobog that much, aside from maybe Japart, but, you know, after a while we discovered that it's just completely used on Japart as well. And then Salsotto is basically like, since it's basically going to be for, like, the wording is like follow-up attack, right? So Scylla doesn't use follow-up, it's not that great. We had that whole debacle. In 2025, it is with great shame that this relic has officially retired. Never let you go. Yep. Our 2-piece Salsotto Belobog, they have officially retired. Topaz doesn't care. We have Izumo now. We have Duran now. Jingyuan, technically you could still run him with this specifically for Jingyuan, and then Banana came out, which is like, you know, it is what it is. Basically, no one really cares about Salsotto anymore, and Belobog is kind of like the same fit as like a Wuthering guard, and nobody really cares about the defense, right? Even Aventry doesn't really care. You just run your broken Keel, run your supports. Nobody should be needing the defense on Belobog. So as of 2025, this is pretty much gone. Daughter ratio, just run Izumo. As long as you can think of an application for Salsotto, either Duran or Izumo can replace it. So unfortunately, 2025, it was great knowing you, right? Oh wait, Argentine mains? Yeah, I think Argentine mains might still be cooking here. Right, absolutely. Okay, anyways. The OG diabolical broken ass Inba, one of my favorite set to farm in all time. The GOAT. The undisputed GOAT. Broken Keel plus Rutilant Arena. Holy shit. This set is honestly very, very interesting. Since this set's launch, even until this day, they have seen excellent universal coverage for not just one, not just two, but all three archetypes in Honkai Starbucks. Your DPS, support, and sustain. As long as you are a crit DPS user, running them with like your supports that are supporting your crit DPS and your sustains, you would probably be farming this row 7. Now, I would say in 2025, there was a bit of an interesting like rise up and drop down, which is pre-2025, there was this era of super break plus follow-up. Then the stonks for Rutilant Arena, it went down by quite a bit. Because I think for almost 4 consecutive patches, nobody really cared about this Rutilant Arena, right? It was either your 2-piece, your break for break teams, or it was gonna be essentially your follow-up. So not a lot of crit DPS really cared that much about the basic attack damage as well as skill damage. Alas! By the grace of the Emanator of Erudition, the Herta, the power of Rutilant Arena has risen up once more because Dihara single-handedly brought up Rutilant Arena's value because this is pretty much her second best in slot, not too far off from two-piece Izumo, right? So that is a really, really good alternative. On top of that, Aglaea's basic attacks, her enhanced basic attacks, her joint, whatever, all these things are also going to be able to benefit from the basic attack buff from Rutilant Arena. So, if I were to give this a verdict in 2025, I would say they're almost insane. Right at the edge of insane. But unfortunately, I will have to give it the good. There really is only one reason why this is the case. It was a fucking Firefly, bro. The fucking damn Super Breakers. Unfortunately, Super Breakers don't give a flying fuck about Row 7. Alright, all them new Gen Z Super Breakers, like all them Super Breakers, they are the new generation, right? These new generations, they will never understand the difficulty of finding the 30 effect rest to get 10% crit damage. They will never understand finding 70% crit rate to trigger Routine Arena. They're like, oh, ooh, let me find my Talia, ooh, and we just slap on it. Them kids will never understand because they don't give a fuck about Row 7. And since there are so many goddamn Super Breakers out there, it is not that insane because technically you could completely skip Row 7 if you are a break team, and there are a lot of people in this row that are running break, right? So I would say it's gonna be good, but remember, this is technically for now. I don't know how it's gonna look like in the future version 3, right? We're gonna be getting more units, we're gonna be getting more supports. I don't know if they're gonna be making Super Break a thing, but remember what I said about my Relic video, right? Like when I made my early access, Lushaka Set, the attack percentage buff, it will only apply to slot 1. It would not apply to the Mimo Sprite because the Mimo Sprite is not in slot 1. Whereas for Broken Keel, this crit damage covers everyone in the team. Secondly, the Banana Set, it gives your wearer up to 48% crit damage, but this 32 is only for the wearer and not for the Mimo Sprite. Maybe we could see a come-uppance of Broken Keel or even Rutilant Arena, but we kind of need to let them cook a little bit more to see what are the future archetypes coming in version 3. So I'll just leave this as it is for now. Next, World 8. 2-piece Glamoth and 2-piece Penacony. Firefly's dead home row and Firefly's new home where she died and came back and be our girlfriend. Honestly, it's pretty aight. Better than Fleetless and Space Station at least. I don't think it's better than Vonwacq just because Vonwacq can fulfill a niche that is very, very hard to replace. Glamoth, I think the sentiment is like Glamoth is like a DOT 2-piece, right? But a lot of your crit DPS, especially your fast crit DPS, can also make use of Glamoth. So for example, do you guys know that Scylla's best in slot 2-piece is actually not even Rutilant Arena? It is actually 2-piece Glamoth, but the condition is that you need to have like ridiculous crit subsets. If you have a ridiculous crit subset or you don't have any crit issues, running Glamoth technically gives Scylla more damage compared to Rutilant Arena. And then for your units like, you know, potentially speaking like Aglaea, she's probably going to be very fast. She can also make the effect of Glamoth even if she's not a DOT unit. So essentially any fast DPS, as long as they can hit at speed, it is usable. 2-piece Penacony. Now, unfortunately, this kinda got power crept by Lushaka because there isn't really like a mono quantum, or not really mono, but a mono element archetype. Aside from Zero Wolf and mono quantum, right? That's when you can give the same elemental buff. Almost every other time is a little bit hard to fulfill this. Examples I can think of is probably like Huan Huan with Blade, or like Huan Huan with Fei Xiao, or like Aventurine with Ratio, Fu Xuan, right? Fu Xuan Zero Wolf, that's a quantum, that's a given. It could be like, you know, yeah, Pella. You can run Pella with Herta. So there are some cases where if you run the same element, it wouldn't be that bad. Right? It wouldn't be that bad. Up to you guys. Up to you guys. Because it is technically not a direct upgrade over Broken Keel. Because Broken Keel's crit damage buff is still gonna be, you know, a little bit more compared to Penacony's damage percentage buff. And if you guys know how the damage formula works in Honkai Starbucks, this is a little bit easier in order to get a diminishing value because there are a lot of damage buffers, right, compared to your crit ratio buffers. I'm sorry, there's no benefit here because this says for all other allies of the same type, right? But most of the time, you really only care about the main DPS plus the guy wearing this. You don't really care about the other units being on the same type. Alright, which is also why I say Lushaka is essentially just power crap because you rather just all-in attack, which then you gave you a little bit more. 2% is 2%, okay? Okay, so that's pretty much it for World 8. World 9. Izumo and Sigonia. Okay, this set is a little bit interesting. The crit value provided by Izumo is honestly really, really good. 24 crit value, 12% crit rate on top of the attack. The Pepsi set, right? The Pepsi set. And frankly speaking, the users for Izumo, they are honestly a lot as well, right? You can run this with Acheron plus Inhibity. You can run this with Facial plus Hunt. You can run it with Hurtard plus Erudition, which is also Hurtard's bench slot. A lot of archetypes now, they seem to be following this path plus path combination. So quite versatile amongst our meta crit DPSs. My problem is Sigonia. Because Sigonia is essentially a set that is, you know, built for pure fiction when it was first launched. And even though this is a very, very good value, we didn't really have a lot of a use for this set specifically of pure fiction. One being pure fiction is, you know, as we know by now, is really not that difficult. On top of the rework that they just do, it is really just not that difficult. And secondly, there's no fucking relic sets, bruh. We do not have relic sets in Honkai Star Rail. So imagine every single fucking time you want to use this with your crit DPS for pure vision, and every single time you want to take them out of pure vision, you need to change the relic again. Yo, respectfully, I ain't got time for all that, right? I'm playing a goddamn gacha game. I ain't spending 5 years to gear my shit unless I'm doing this for content, right? So I'm legit not even joking. If they were to invent relic sets in Honkai Starbucks, this will honestly be really, really good. So I will have like a pure vision set that I just slap on for crit DPS. It will honestly be a huge quality of life. But the time it takes to fucking change is too much, right? So respectfully, that is legit my biggest gripe this. Aside from this, I would say I would place this at the tip top of its eye. If they were to give me a little bit more reason to farm, sure. But unfortunately, this domain, it doesn't cover your supports and sustains. Unless we get a support or sustain that could also deal damage, and they are like, you know, same path or they may use of the crit, then maybe it could be usable. This is like exclusively for like your main DPS, right? Essentially your Acheron, Hurtard, Facial, if you want to. And then for Facial, you have substitutes like your Duran, which I'm going to be talking about a little bit. So for that reason, I would say at the tip top of its height, not as good as the GOAT, right? Not as good as the GOAT. And now, I really don't want to do this, but like, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. MiHoYo, unfortunately, just glazed Super Break way too much. Alright, they legit just glazed Super Break way too much. There's no reason for this amount of diabolical shit for Super Break. Not only does the Kalpagni set is straight up power creeps your Talia, it also gives you a 6% speed for free, by the way. This is completely free 99. Zero activation criteria. So even if you don't care about this at all, like you care 0, you could still run this because it is the only 2-piece that gives you this 6% speed. So if you want to run this like a random 2-piece for pretty much any of your support and sustains just to hit the speed threshold, this is pretty much your only choice. This also just straight up power creeps your Kalpagnis, sorry, not Kalpagni, your Talia. So it is what it is. Also, by the power of our girlfriend Firefly, everybody has fire weakness, right? So imagine not using Firefly. It is what it is. And then for our Duran, this is a really, really good set in a sense where it completely power craps Salsotto. If you're thinking about using follow-up set, Duran basically does everything Salsotto does, but like way better, essentially, right? You have up to 25% follow-up damage and 25% crit damage. It is basically Salsotto but on roids. And everyone can use this, and this is when allies use follow-up attacks. Right, when allies use follow-up attacks. So very synergistic for a far team, your racial team, you're still using a red team. Pretty much gonna be this. So yep, you can run this for supports, you can run this for sustains, you can run it for DPS. The most popular break DPS team. I think a lot of people also use follow-up, so essentially the insane value. And now finally to our Lushaka and Banana set. This, I wanna keep in mind, is gonna be right before we get a brand new 2-piece panel, because from the schedule it goes, they always release like a brand new 4-piece, followed by a brand new 2-piece, followed by a brand new 4-piece. So it always rotates around, right? So chances are we're most likely getting a brand new 2-piece very, very soon. So what exactly does Lushaka and Banana offer for us, right? So if you can take over here, Lushaka is essentially you could say this is the easier version compared to Penacony. Both give you 5% ER, but the thing is, this is a lot easier to work around, right? Essentially, just slot 1, you get this 12% attack. So it's going to be very good for pretty much any of your hyper carry DPS. And even if you don't run like a traditional hyper carry, so for example, you want to run into Fei Xiao, it could also be doable. And just let like units like your Topaz or even Harma 7 be the driver, they can also benefit from this singular injection of this attack buff. But then again, if you're using Robin, you have more attack, so I don't really want to get into all that. A lot easier to use than Penacony. Pretty much best in slot for our D-Herda support. Might be the best in slot for your future DPS coming out. So for example, Aglaia, she's most likely going to be a hyper carry crit DPS. Pretty much your all these kind of like single hyper carry crits. Or even if you're running like a DOT, right? Getting attack is also not too shabby. So I would say this is very, very flexible to use for almost every single sustain and support as of this current moment. Between this and Broken Keel, I would say these two are like the most universal. It ultimately depends if 1, you care about the 5% energy regeneration, and 2, can you hit this 30% effect rest? If you say no to ER and yes to effect rest, then Broken Keel will be better for you, especially running the crit DPS. If you care about the 5% ER, then I would say that Lushaka is probably going to be, why is it a great streamer? It's probably going to be the better choice, right? And then finally, the Banana set. The unfortunate truth, the crit damage buff is not inherited by the Mimo sprite. That is really the only downside. But the wearer would still get a 48% crit damage buff. So for example, right, Aglaia, if let's say Garment Maker is not going to be Aglaia's main source of damage, if Aglaia's majority of her damage is still coming from herself, then Banana is still going to be, you know, basically the best in slot, right? If you don't care about the Mimo's sprite damage that much, it's still gonna be fine. I would say this 2-piece, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the whole Salsotto and Duran situation. Alright, this is not a set for your Mimo sprite DPSs. It's not. And I feel like we would get a dedicated 2-piece specifically for your Mimo sprite DPS in the future. So I would say I'm a little bit more wary of going all in for Banana. But since the domain does have a very flexible Lushaka, I think as of now, I can still park it at the good territory. But it's very, very similar to Keel and Rutilant Arena, but I will still park it in the good territory, not too shabby. Because if you really want to think about it, a lot of units can still make use of this, right? Your Jingyuan can make use of this. Your Topaz can make use of this, right? Technically, Aglaia, which is summons whatever the hell, even the Mimosa doesn't make it, she can still make use of it. Lingsha, crit damage Lingsha. She technically can still make use of this, right? So with that, we can come to the end of our relic efficiency tier list updated for version 3 going into version 3.1. That is a, holy shit, a 1 hour yet video. A 1 hour yet video. Swap Izumo? Nah, I don't think I will. The reason why I wouldn't swap Izumo as well as this is just because when you're hunting for this, you can cover your bases for your support sustain as well as your DPS. Whereas for this domain is strictly for nothing but DPS. You know, unless you run like a crit damage Izumo Lingsha and then you run another like abundant sustain with like, I don't know, like Hui or some shit, right? But yeah, so the word of the day is going to be roll better. I think that is quite fitting. Roll better, roll better, roll better. All in. Join Twitch, join YouTube, join Discord, join Twitter, join Twitter. All the ways. See you guys next time. Take care. Today we are doing a very why do I look so angry, bruh? When you did not pull for Bubbin. When you didn't have a 175 speed sparkle. When you can't 0 cycle within 30 minutes. Oh my god, I look so angry. Like, what could I have possibly done, bruh? Oh my god, it's the wrong set. Oh my god, it's the wrong set! Oh my god, I look so angry. Like, what could I have possibly done, bruh?